Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Engineering, Product, and Technical Program Manager Talks. A special welcome to TPM talkers, builders, and doers. This is the first part of a five-part series to design the X/Twitter API design. In this first episode, we will look at the functional and non-functional requirements, and subsequent episodes will look at design considerations, the API model, latency and budget evaluation, and all the different aspects. We like to start with a thought of the day. Today's thought of the day is from Primo Levi, who says the aims of life are the best defense against death. The aims of life are the best defense against death. I think for me, what this says is we should do all we can when we can, because tomorrow is not guaranteed. Well, if that's it, let me save you time by moving on quickly. But if you have a different perspective on this, let me know in the comments below. Okay, so who is this for? This, in the first of our API design series, is really for technical program managers, product TPMs, system engineering managers, engineering leads, software engineers, anyone that is involved in the tech ecosystem can benefit from this, especially if you have an interview coming up. I saw a recent article in the Financial Standard where it was talking about the fact that US employers, in trying to cut costs and increase efficiency, have reduced the availability of internships, paid or otherwise. And what people need to know is not just for the US alone. This is happening all across the Western world, right? We have flat headcounts, and what that really means is that it's a tough market. So you need to sharpen your skill sets. And as the word of the day said, your aims in life are truly the best defense against offense. Aha. You did not see the thought of the day coming. I got you. Okay, so let's go right in. So what is Twitter, right? In the previous episode, I've already introduced us to Twitter. I showed you my handle, no create. Feel free to like and subscribe, follow. So what is Twitter, right? It's a social media platform where millions, if not billions of users share their tweets and perform all sorts of operations, right? And behind the scenes, there are multiple services and components that interact to make Twitter what it is. Okay. So for instance, you need to post a tweet, you need to generate a timeline, you need to perform other relevant tasks, comment on a tweet, like, etc. Right? So in this bit, I just want to establish what are the expectations from our API's perspective. Okay. We want to be able to post a tweet. This should allow users to post. Users should be able to post not just tweets, text. They should be able to upload images, videos, or non-executable documents. Emphasis on non-executable. So I don't want you uploading your source code, right? As part of the tweet. You should be able to retrieve your timeline, essentially what most people call view a tweet. You want to be able to search. There are instances where people search and delete tweets, particularly if they want to go into politics. You will need to be able to rate a tweet, for instance. And the way that will look, a summary of that, if I can get my face out of the way, is like that. Yeah. So this interaction between your clients on the left and the Twitter/X API on the right. But as we've established in my system design series, it's not just functional requirements that's important. You also want to have an eye to your non-functional requirements. Essentially, what will the system do to enable the functional requirements to happen? And some key NFRs we are defining for this service will be availability, right? It should be highly available. Reliability. Even if some services fail, users should be able to view their tweets regardless, right? That's an important thing. People cannot see their tweets, they'll be distressed. So reliability is one of our key NFRs. Scalability, as more users keep as more users are added to the system should be able to scale to accommodate those users without seeing any glitch in performance. Security, users would like to store, particularly now that people use Twitter for all kinds of things like putting bank account details, etc., which I don't advise to do, but there may be reasons why you need to do that. So the service has to be secure. Okay. User data has to be transferred with the appropriate security mechanisms. And of course, as I always like to say, fast is our favorite feature. So the system must have low latency. Response times of services should be quick, near real time, in order to provide users with what you call a smooth service. Now, something I just want to draw, just because of the fact that I'm not going to talk about it at the moment, is that there are services that make the Twitter service function, right? I'm not going to talk about them as part of this API design. You can look at my videos if you want to understand more, but there's a search API. I see that as a foundational API, comment APIs, just because most of our services, Facebook, Meta, almost everything online these days gives people the opportunity to comment, opportunity to rate or like. And I also feel the publisher subscriber model or the publisher subscriber API, which allows you to notify and a message queue. And I'll talk about this specifically. I'm going to create a video around that. That's a foundational aspect. So this API design, for those people that are quite experts, you will not see me talk about these supporting services. File uploads, right? Again, those are foundational system designs. I'll talk about them separately, but not as part of this session. Okay, so what are we going to do and design as part of this API? We will design a tweet service. I envision that this tweet service will allow the creation and storage of new tweets, right? A timeline service which will generate the timeline. So, in other words, if you want to read tweets, because you want to read tweets not just from yourself but from other users, people you follow, people that follow you, you'll be able to see that. And that timeline service should encompass three timelines. Your home timeline, right? So this is the most recent tweets of your followers, okay? With their recommendations, whether they're ads, whether they're trends, people to follow. There should also be a user timeline. So what this user timeline will consist of is your tweets, retweets, and recommendations of the user. Then there should be a mentions timeline, which will return the top. We can define that later, but X% or N tweets in which, the logged user is tagged. Yeah. So next, we'll look at how the details of this tweet can be sent to the system and how it generates a timeline. So at a high level, for those who have followed my system design courses, you know that I say after you've done your requirements clarification, one of the next steps is for you to look at a high level system design. So that's what this is, right? Just a design overview. So some of the functional requirements that we have that we've defined are shown. I just spoke about the tweet service and the timeline service, which are sort of like the two key services that we're going to design in this X/Twitter API, right? I've said what the tweet service does. It is going to allow you create and store new tweets, and the timeline service will generate the timeline by interacting with different aspects, right? So for instance, we expect it to interact with this shows. Yes. So that's the tweet service, the timeline service. So the timeline service will interact with a cache, for instance. The timeline service is going to interact with a trend service, right? So that's how you're going to get the most recent feed, most recent data. It should also interact with a pub sub service, as I explained earlier. I'm not going to go into details of the pub sub service, but just know that it's important for messaging. I'll go into details in a separate video. I would also say that it should also interact with people discovery service so that you know people you want to follow, people that are similar to people you've previously followed, people that publish things that you're interested in or that you've liked or you've clicked on, etc. So you also need a discovery service. Yeah. And from the perspective of Twitter, they make their money from ads, right? So there will need to be an ad service that is configured to what you have liked or subscribed or spent time on. So our system will not be worth its salt if it does not design that into it. Okay, so in this first part, what have we covered? We have looked at the functional requirements of the API. Then we looked at the non-functional requirements. I said a brief word around supporting services, right? So we understand the service on which the API is built. In part two, we'll start to look at the design decisions that will influence our API design. Okay, at the end of this service, if you have any comments, please reach out to me, comment below, like, subscribe, let me know your thoughts. Would you design this way or would you design it differently? Have I left something out beyond the 5 services that I mentioned?